is enough. Enough of the same game already. It's time to get some new ideas into this genre. And if somebody was gonna do it, it should be EverQuest. We're at the point right now where we're building something that's both heroic and social. We've taken everything we know about games and MMOs in general, and we're fusing the best parts into an original shape, well, that we hope will create triumph and passion in the gamers that play it. See, we were serious about it being a sandbox game.
Wow. Good evening. Welcome to the EverCast show. Tonight we have a special episode planned for you all. Woo! A huge thanks to Ornex for that intro, and a huge thanks to you all for your continued support of this show. Every couple weeks we come up here. We work hard to bring the show to you guys, and we just love that you love what we do. Now tonight we're turning things upside down a little bit. Here at EverCast, we love to hijack what other people are doing. So we are sneaking in to SOE's top secret headquarters and delivering you the latest roundtable questions tonight live on the show. Now, they may or may not be official, but they definitely are roundtable. But first, let's go ahead and welcome everybody out. All of our hosts are here, as always. Tanlin, Kyles, Flatus, Kalbur. Everyone say hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Well, that was a good hello. I suppose we're going to start off like we always do with a little ECast news. Carl, would you take it away?
Yes, hello everyone, this is Carl with the EverCast news. First we have a little video queued for you guys with a Minecraft related announcement. Hello everyone, Kalbu here from EverCast. Today I want to officially announce our Minecraft server. Many of us are obviously looking forward to Landmark, and after seeing if there was enough interest on Twitter and a few forums, we decided to launch a Minecraft server specifically themed for EverQuest. Anyone can build on the server, and your builds don't have to specifically be structures that are from EverQuest, but have to fit into the world of EverQuest, in similar fashion of how we're all looking forward to building in EverQuest Landmark. The last 2 days we have already been building with a small group of people from my stream on the world, and I wanted to give you some highlights of what we have accomplished on the server so far. I think it's a testament to how much you can achieve with a small group of people in a limited amount of time, with collaboration. So enjoy! So that was the first Minecraft related announcement. We also have a second one. Those of you who are willing to join the server, like I said, everyone is free to join. If you build something, you can enter it to our competition. And you enter it into the competition by sending your Minecraft name, as it is on the server, to evercast.show@gmail.com. And we will be picking the best builds on Friday the 18th. And the best build will get Serious Sam the complete pack, meaning you get all the Serious Sam games and a copy of Portal. If we get more than 10 submissions on the server, we will also hand out second and third prizes, which will be Monaco and Commando, the complete collection. So that's it. That's it for what Minecraft is concerned. I hope to see you on the server, and let's make this something nice. I really want to make this like a world. I don't want to make individual plots. I want us all to actually work together to make a whole.
And Cole,
region.
where can they find more information about this and the contest? I know we'll put it on Twitter. Are you going to have it on your website that we can link it to?
I will enter more details on my website for now, and we will tweet that, and I will put my website in chat right now.
Heck yeah, new EverCast contest, thanks to Call and Defiance Gaming.
Very nice. So, let's continue with some more news. The website, as said last week, we are still working on a website. The audio version will be coming up soon, where you will basically be able to listen to our podcast from there and have all the information, and, for example, also read about our news. Additionally, keep sending us feedback, guys, about the show, about things we're doing, ideas about our community events. Spread the word about the YouTube channel. So there's that. Additionally, tomorrow we will have Play with EverCast. I'm sorry, that name just racks me up every single time. Tomorrow we have Play with EverCast. We're still sticking to with EverQuest 2 for tomorrow. Be sure to join us on TeamSpeak and adventure across the Crossbone server. And that was the EverCast news for this week.
So this week we're doing a roundtable discussion, and they're not exactly official, but we decided, since it's been a really popular topic, to borrow the idea of a roundtable discussion, and we all came up with a question that we feel are important to us, and so we're going to pose them to you guys and ask you to give us your feedback. And I understand that there's a poll involved in this, and we'll be able to ask for your feedback live, and you'll be able to vote live, real time, and we can actually, discuss it right now. So, who has the first one? I think Tamlin has the first one.
You're muted, Tamlin.
I did it again. Question one.
It wouldn't be a show, man. It
No, it wouldn't. It really would. All right, so question one, it starts out with, what faction division should there be in EverQuest next? And the answers are A, two unequal, unchanging factions. This is a la Warcraft, where you have Alliance and Horde, and they are fixed in an eternal state of conflict, and it never changes. Option B is where you have three unequal, unchanging factions that are in a constant state of conflict of some sort, and that's like Guild Wars 2 and Warhammer Online. Option C is that factions should be only existing in the background, and then when it comes to the players, factions don't matter at all. Like, player interaction is not restricted by faction. An example of this would be like Vanguard, where you have races that are, antagonistic to other races, but to the players, it doesn't matter anymore. And then option D is having multiple factions with kill on sight in enemy territory, and this is a player-driven faction, and this example would be like they have in Eve, where you can create alliances and corporations, and they can go to war with each other. But that is in a continuous, dynamic shape that is continuously changing. So,
Yeah,
what do you guys
and
think?
just so you guys know, we posted the link in chat for you guys to cast your votes live. So as we're discussing this, you guys can go and cast your votes. And so towards the end of the questions, we'll go ahead and sum it up to see what you guys actually say as the audience too. I'll start off. I put the last option on the question. I reworded it a little bit, and probably because that's my answer. If it's going to be a sandbox game, I really want the players to be in control. So I'm thinking, you have your different factions. You have like the Combine, and then you have maybe a different faction. But maybe they might be warring at a time. Maybe players can take control of those factions and create alliances, or guilds could create alliances and control land. If you go on an enemy territory's land that is obviously at war with you, then they have full PvP rights to kill you, such and such. But also give tools to the players to sort of like regulate the killing. So you could have like police forces, or you could have like hit lists where if someone's PKing all the time, ganking everybody, you can go ahead and be like, hey, this douche needs to die. That's my option. What do you guys think?
I agree with you, but my reasoning is a little bit different. I think that when they're asking about like the social groups and like guilds and alliances that you can form, I think that sort of gameplay, it lends itself to that sort of player created factions, and again, it's the ultimate sandbox experience.
Do you guys have a problem with set factions like Rift or any other game?
What my issue is with faction is that it divides your player base in an absolute way in a lot of the later games. Rift is a prime example where they recently, a few months ago, just got rid of the factions in such a way where you could actually group with the other side. That's my only pet peeve with like factions, is that you divide up the player base, which is fine at launch, but the months after, when numbers start to dwindle, you're kind of hoping like, I kind of hate this faction, like roleplay wise, but I wish I could just group with this person so I could just get my stuff done.
I mean, that's the kind of WoW model that stinks too, right? Is that you're constantly evil, or you're constantly good.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that Warcraft has tried to change in their telling of their story, that the Alliance and the Horde both have good things and bad things about them. It's all a matter of perspective. But I don't think that, like, if you look at the earlier Warcraft, not World of Warcraft, but Warcraft 1, it was good versus evil. It was humans versus orcs. And once they had that set in stone, it was really, they can't let go of that, because that is what the game is. That's what the game is.
Have you guys played Rift?
I have.
Yes.
You guys remember, like, in the starting zones, they both had like really unique perspectives over the same event, and they'd both be completely biased. Like the Defiance the Defiant was blaming the Guardians and vice versa, and it was almost like giving you propaganda. That was cool.
Right,
except that it ended like after the first zone. I mean,
exactly.
It's all nice and all, but at the end of the day, the first 15 levels matter nothing in any game, which is a bad thing on its own. But
remember,
okay.
No levels, never quest next. So
yeah,
change.
But I mean, I would love factions in a game, but I would want it to affect things in a different way, and I would also want to be able to swap my faction at any point. And that I don't mean like I go to a vendor and swap my faction. No, I mean like I work a few days, I betray my faction, and I'm a new faction.
Yeah, and I'm reminded that back in the early, well, I don't know how early, it was back during Lich King, that on PvP servers, if you created one character of one faction, you were blocked out from playing other characters of that other faction on that server. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you used to be, if you were an orc, you could play a troll, a Forsaken, but you couldn't play a human or a night elf. It's on PvP servers, it's kind of, they kind of had to do it, but then I don't know why they lifted that restricted, because now it's like you can play whatever, you can play both factions on the same server. And so that element of sandbox PvP that can happen on PvP server, where it's just like, hey, I'm going to take my group of friends and we're going to go raid this city of the other faction because we want to. like that was a possibility. But then once you'd be able to create like a level 1 alt of the other faction, you could see, well, is there anybody there? Or, if you were on the receiving end of that attack, it was like, well, how many people do they have? Do we want to take them on? And so it became a mode of reconnaissance. So I'm just saying, if you do unchanging factions you have to look at how that affects your PvP. And that was the other lesson that Warcraft learned, is that when they first created the Horde and Alliance, Paladins were Alliance only and Shaman were Horde only. And when they removed that class restriction for the factions, they explained why, and that's because when they were creating their PvE encounters, they had to take into account that this faction didn't have these key abilities that belong to like the Shaman class or the Paladin class.
Yeah. The easy thing is, though, it's easier to create a stronger narrative, isn't it, with 2 or 3 factions interacting. If you let players create factions, vice versa, you might end up with sort of how EverQuest 1 created the lore. It was all sort of player-based in a way, and it was very hard to keep track of unless you were going to Al-Khazam or something like that. I see a problem in that, but I still sort of want player factions.
Yes and no. When you have your factions that are unchanging, you can tell the story proactively. Like, you can tell the story the way that the developers want to tell it. But if you look at how Eve handles it, Eve reacts to what the players are doing. They allow their narrative to adjust depending on what's happening in the players.
That's cool.
And they have websites developed, the Eve News, where you can go and see which, what corporations and what alliances are at war, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome, actually. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Personally, I like option D the most of all of them. Multiple factions, restricted movement. But I don't know. I don't really like the typical good versus evil. It's getting really kind of old.
I do think we're kind of missing one part of the factions, though. If you think of it more than just player factions, like back in the day, we used to have games where NPCs would belong to a faction, and if you would do enough for those NPCs, you would essentially become part of their faction, and you would be able to be part of multiple factions.
Right. And see,
EverQuest did some of that, Vanguard did some of that,
Mhm.
and beyond that, I cannot really name
that's
any more
the
games.
KOS part of the question.
That is like, that was fun. Like, if you did certain content, it would mean that you could no longer go into the Elf City. Although I guess a lot of people don't find that fun anymore, but I did.
well,
I love the idea.
It kept me busy.
that's kind of
I
the
love the
option.
idea.
See, go ahead.
Yeah.
I love the idea of having to like grind up action with a specific group of people just to be able to walk into their city based on what race I am, or possibly even what class I am, because they don't like me based on that one thing. And that working with those people might not be great for these other people over here. And well, they like me, but they don't now. And they like me, but they don't now. I don't like the cut and dry vanilla this and this and those are the only two that exist. It's not good and evil anymore. I think that's too old. I think it's too old fashioned.
I hate reputation grinds too. I hate that it's not dynamic, that it's like, let me do 5,000 quests to get my reputation up, to be an ally, to get something special. But then after that, it doesn't really mean anything at all. Like, it's completely pointless of a grind. Like, I'd rather me, like, be able... have it on a micro scale. They're talking about, like, emergent design, right? Where I could walk into a town and maybe something's attacking the town and I could kill the orcs in there. But, of course, that'll have a life of consequences, negative effects, and positive effects. I'd like to see factions on a micro level, too. So it's like, that town is a little faction. So by me just doing that one event, then I gain reputable faction with them, and then maybe they spread the word to others. So I might not even have to go grind reputation with all the other factions, but maybe word of mouth between the NPCs can spread, sort of like a fable or something like that.
That's kind of badass.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, I don't want to like linger too long on like maybe Warcraft, but Tanlin and Kai would probably remember this. I don't know if you guys ever did it, but if you're down in Booty Bay and you decided that you wanted
Booty Bay.
Yeah, if you decided you wanted the Bloodsail Admiral title, what you had to do, because all you had to do was go and kill all the guards in that area repetitively. Like, you just have to run around and kill all the guards and NPCs in that character and lower your faction until they hated you. Then you could go over to the pirates, the Bloodsail Admiral, the Bloodsail Pirates, and then you can do quests for them. So you get a title said Bloodsail Admiral, and then you'd have to go switch over, kill all those pirates. It took forever. It took forever.
And then
Try to make the title be insane.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the insane. Yeah, part of the insane title too. So if you really wanted to go do that, that was like what 6 factions you had to go like lower and then gain rep back with.
Yep.
It was and it took forever. No one I don't know anybody that ever was so insane to do it.
I didn't do it, but I know people. And so I agree about the whole not lingering on this because there's several other questions that we're going to cover. But the last thing that I want to say about this personally that I think is really important, and I, again, hate to go back to World of Warcraft, but since the mass majority of my experience as a gamer has been in World of Warcraft, the thing that I hate the most about factions is if I'm playing a Forsaken, why do I have to grind rep with my own people? If I am playing a Blood Elf, why do I have to grind rep with my own people? They are my people. I sing the song of my people every day. Please don't make me continue singing the song of my people to get rep with my own faction.
God, every
That
game does
irritates me so much.
Shall
I
we-
just please don't do that.
Yeah,
Shall we
EverQuest has
see
like
the result?
prestige houses and stuff like that. Yeah, call with the results.
Yes, I see that over 80% has voted for multiple factions with restricted movements among enemy territories and kill
Wow.
aside for guards. So we want consequence. That's basically...
I like it.
The second option was factions are background only and have minimal effects in the game, and the rest, the other 2 options have not had any votes. So those
the
are actually
unequal,
quite
unchanging
polar.
factions. Just
That's how dead it is.
unchanging. Yeah, just throw it out. Just throw out those unchanging factions because the people have spoken.
Wow.
I mean, it has to do with the emergent design. It has to do. We want a sandbox. We don't want to be restricted to the same old narrative and gameplay. We want to be able to evolve. We want to be able to define ourselves through multiple different perspectives and through the things we do, not necessarily the choices we make in the faction. I don't want to be a horde because I'm an orc. I think it has. I mean, there has to be negative effects. We've talked about it a little, and there are a lot more. It definitely has to be a balance. But I think we're all in agreement on this one.
Orcs can be nice.
Question 2.
Yeah, question
I
2.
believe question 2
Number
is
2.
It is me. Should there be a food requirement and farming in the game? A is Minecraft it up. Food should be required. B should give benefits but not damage yourself. As C is as long as I can farm and sell, I don't care. And D, I'm okay with food regulations if food is cheap. My thing with this question is that it'd be kind of like nice that food almost seems important. It is kind of a staple to sit down and eat. EverQuest, you kind of just put the food in your bags and you auto consume
EverQuest
food.
was like
Yeah, and
Yes.
I find it a little weird. I feel like there's like a robot someplace like in my fantasy world auto feeding me. like there's like a little
Here
neck
comes
piece
the
that like
airplane.
I have like little food tubes and it just automatically puts food in my stomach.
Now, can someone remind me, EverQuest 1 and EverQuest 2 are different. EverQuest 2, it sort of gave you a bonus, so it was like a mono region bonus, blah, blah, blah. Can someone remind me about food in EverQuest 1? Was it also just a bonus? Could it hurt you? Like, if I didn't eat, it wasn't like Minecraft where I'd die from not eating or something like that, right?
No, it
You
was
die in
similar.
Minecraft?
Yeah, you die in Minecraft.
I don't die in
Yeah.
Minecraft.
If you don't eat, you die.
You didn't know that? Yeah. I just
No,
thought you were
never.
questioning my player skill. I was I was like, yeah, I've died a couple times in Minecraft. Leave me alone.
No, I've never played Minecraft.
Ah.
Sorry.
Yeah, if you don't collect food, you die.
I think my thing is I personally think that there should be like a fight like with the number of classes, which I believe they said 40 if I'm still not mistaken. If somebody wants to jump in and
Yeah,
correct me,
40. Over 40, I think they said.
farming would be kind of a cool class. It's something where you can it would go well with a cook or a baker or whatever, or muffin maker, whatever type of class they're gonna have. It makes sense. It'd be kind of cool to have it on the back of your house too. You like a plot of land you can go in and dig. And
Gladys, you know the Muffin Man.
I do know the Muffin Man.
Doesn't he live on Drury Lane?
He does.
Okay.
That's in the Freeport quarter, I think.
Yeah, it does.
So I voted Minecraft food should be required, but I'm okay with most of the other options except one thing, and that is that food's giving you bonuses. And the reason I say this is because that, like, if you're raiding in World of Warcraft, it's like it's a requirement. It's like, do you have this buff, this buff, and eat your food. And instead of being a bonus for eating the food that you've created or whatever, all of a sudden it becomes a requirement, because if you don't have it, you're not working at 100%. You're working at less than 100%. The food buff puts you at 100%. If that makes if that makes sense.
There's one thing you need to keep in mind though. If food gives a bonus, that food will be used for raiding.
Yeah, it'll be used for anything.
Raiding is like, you want to get everything, meaning that if there is some small potion at the end of the corner of the world that gives you 3% damage, people will go to great lengths to farm that potion.
And
like, yes, so
because then it's no longer optional. Then it becomes part of a requirement. It
segregates the player base.
But my answer is like, I'm okay with food. I'm okay with dying from food. I play Daisy and Arma quite a bit, so I kind of like that portion. Like, oh guys, we need to stop killing people now. We need to actually hunt for some food. But the farming thing, I'm okay with it, but it shouldn't be like, dare I mention Farmville, or it shouldn't be like, guys, I need to manage my farm for the next 5 hours because that's.
Did you ever play A Tale in the Desert, guys?
No.
Anybody play A Tale in the Desert? That did farming well. It was like a full crafting MMO. There was no combat or anything, just pure crafting. So you build a house, you farm.
If it is used in crafting, and it is actually in a separate, fully fledged part of the game, hell yeah. If it's just some I go to this point, I dig a hole, I plant seeds, I wait 5 minutes, I water it, I wait 5 minutes more, I water it, and when it's big enough, I harvest it. No, thank you.
But you can use station cash to speed up the process.
No.
No, yeah. I was thinking
actually
maybe you click to place your farm, right, and it opens up a little browser and connects you to Zynga. SOE Zynga partnership. Bam! Look at all that money coming in. Marketing opportunities. No. I take it back.
Do we need to point out we're not serious, or
we are not serious?
We're not serious.
All right. Do we have last thoughts before we bring up the poll results?
They're saying to knock me out. Oh my gosh.
I'm with Shinter and Domino on that one. Pentapod. Oh yeah.
I'm just trying to be Omid. I'm trying to be a marketing kind of guy. You know. I got the clothes.
Someone gag him.
Do we want to see the results? Do we have last thoughts?
They're saying I'm angling for a job.
The results are actually pretty close. 46% says let's Minecraft it up, which is actually surprising in my opinion. Then the second should be food should be for benefits only, cause no damage. So that's kind of what we're used to in a lot of MMOs these days. And the minority with 2 and 1 votes is I'm okay if food is reasonably priced, and as long as I can farm and sell my goods is 1 vote. So I'm sorry for that person.
So we're stuck between the bonus model of the traditional MMO and the sort of survival is what it comes down to. It's whether you want a survival-based game or not.
Red Nagathon has shot the food.
God, that would suck. I was thinking that I put Minecraft in the question of Minecraft. I think it says something about a famine. Like, what if dragons were attacking your city? You get cut off and people just start dying because they don't have food? Like, what if you could actually siege castles in PvP and cut off food supplies?
Right. The AI wants food,
Is that
and if
negative?
they can't have food, they go on into famine mode. That'd be.
You could keep that on the AI basis, though. Should we make it on a player basis too? It's pretty hardcore.
See, that's the thing is, I don't want to have to grow and make my own food. But if I can go to like an inn or a grocer or whatever and pick up the food, whatever, that I'm okay with that.
If he can tell his wife to make it for him, he won't care.
She said it, not me.
Wow.
All right, we ready for question number 3 then?
Yeah, let's move on.
This is
question number 3. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nope, go for it.
Okay, I'm going for it. What sort of group and raid size would you like to see in EverQuest next? Answer A, 4 players, 4 to 5 groups. 5 players, 4 to 5 groups. The more the merrier. Bring back 120-man raids. It's not even necessary. No need for any restrictions.
I think it's necessary to have restrictions, and that's just because of organization. I know in PlanetSide 2, the numbers are massive that you can have. You can have multiple platoons running of 48, people each, right? Yeah, I think restrictions have to stay, but I want to see 120 people raids. I don't want the requirement to be like static. I want that to be arbitrary. It depends on the mob, and it's always going to fluctuate depending on the mob you're going at. I don't want to see like that raid where you know that you have to have like 4 of these people, 5 of these people, and 3 of these people to go and take the mob out, and you need that number. I'd rather see it as more of an experimental thing where like, oh, there's a dragon attacking, let's see how we can take it down, and then we can organize our groups based on strategy and stuff like that. Like our archers on the hills, our spies on this group going around, make it more tactical. That's how I see it. I think it's necessary to have like max group sizes, but make it expandable to a point where it isn't. I'm revising my position. I say that restrict groups to maybe like 6 people, but have it expand to a point where you can have like 1,000 people in a group if you wanted to. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
No,
I
I want it
guess
to be flexible.
I want it to be flexible.
Are you going to tell them how to build it also?
Huh?
Are you going to tell them how to build it also, though? Because the
Let's
scaling
leave
would
that up
have
to
to
the
be
players,
pretty
right?
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the scale, I'd say leave it to the players.
I mean, my preference is, to be honest, the same as you. Like, make it, like, go anywhere. Like, if I'm on a group. But, like, how do you make that?
And then problems with Zergfest, right? Our Vestu just brought that
Yes,
in the chat,
exactly, and that's
yeah.
an entry level game, or the first part of games that I've been at within launch. That's what that's what happens. You just zerg through everything.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, going back to Blizzard, Warcraft learned the lesson and just introduced their flexible raids, where it's anywhere from 10 to 20 people, and they don't put as hard, not class restrictions, but role restrictions, like you need this mount, and they're like, hey, if you have 10, 12 people that want to come raid with you, you don't have to tell 2 of them to go sit on the bench. You can bring everybody, and I think that was a very important thing for them to add. And so I'm bouncing between the C and the D on this, because I feel like the more the merrier, because it sucks telling people to have to wait their turn if you're all friends and you're all having fun. But at the same time, it's like then it becomes a burden on the developers, because maybe there's at 18 people it's a very challenging encounter, but if you get a 19th person, all of a sudden the dynamics change enough that it becomes an easy encounter, simply because it's so hard to balance the game. So I between C and D. And I don't agree with 4 players or 5 players for a group or for a party. Give me 6.
I like 6.
I definitely do not like the trend of going to smaller and smaller group sizes. That's one thing. I don't really mind if it's 5, 6, or 8 like we used to have, but I wanted more than 4. That's one thing. Another thing is, if we can like make groups scale again to like 120-man raids without it becoming a Zergfest, where we actually need to organize those raids, it would be something that very few people would do, but it would be a lot of fun to actually like split your raid in 20-man groups. You have 5 groups of 20. Each raid is essentially their own raid, and you do stuff. That's like maybe a little bit unrealistic, but I think that is the feeling that a lot of people miss from those insanely big raids. But what you don't want is like just have lots of people and just burn it down. Done. The end. And there's one more point
Think
that I
about
want to
mob
raise.
tactics. Think about AI. Let's bring all that in here. Like we're talking
Well-
about emergent design, so mobs could change tactics if there's more players, stuff like that. Like
There's
that's how you can handle Zergs. And
They
the three-tiered
run-
world should segregate people enough to
Wait.
where you won't have Zerg Fest, right?
there's one really relevant thing that I want to bring up. Guild Wars 2 brought in, like, in their last content patch, brought in like overland raiding for pretty big groups, and like I think in the first 3 days only one server brought it down, and basically the rest of the people were like saying, this is impossible, and because they were so used to everything being easy. So I don't know if it actually still works in a atmosphere today. Anyone else have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about like 120 person rating. Like it sounds so. I think the thing that we're kind of skimming past is that sounds fantastic, but how many people's computers are really going to be able to handle that? I have a hard enough time doing a 25-man raid in World of Warcraft, and I'm not trying to compare graphics to graphics, but 120 people in a single raid, are our computers really going to be able to handle that?
Yes, they are.
PlanetSide 2 does a
PlanetSide
good
2
job,
does it.
it not? And they're working on better optimization, but it's still for higher end PCs. Like an older PC cannot run PlanetSide 2 well at all.
Swear to God, I heard you say for higher end NPCs. Wow.
You know, only the classy
But
NPCs should be able to afford
no,
better.
and I
But
think
I was gonna real quick though. I mean, they want this to be playable across as many PCs as possible. I mean,
Well-
even though the game is free to play, it's still a selling point.
most importantly, it has to play on a PlayStation 4.
I say
PlayStation
that
4 is
too.
powerful.
Well, I think that's
It's a mid-sized gaming PC nowadays. It handles PlanetSide 2 at, they said, like max settings pretty much.
But I think that Kailas brings up a very good point, that when you're creating encounters and you're creating these, where you have masses of people, you have to make sure that the server can handle it and that individual PCs can handle it. And I think the PS4 is basically your base model, that anything that runs like a PlayStation 4 should be able to run the game effectively.
Yeah, and honestly, guys, Forge Lite is amazing at handling data. The server side stuff it can do is top of the line when it comes to MMOs today. So I'd expect good performance, especially with the art style they're going for. They can really make it scalable with that kind of art style very easily. And I think we could see big encounters, and I hope we see big encounters again.
Okay. So
The bigger, the better.
do we want to see the results?
Let's
vote D,
go to
by
the
the way.
results.
Flatus, what do you vote? I don't know if you said.
For me, I'll jump in, but these are limited. I'll say what I'm okay with. I would like to see kind of a mix between the 120. I like that, but also I'd also kind of like to see the open end stuff. I think we have the technology. I think we can do it. We have the money and the technology that we can, with the AI and the ability to kind of have the game adjust HP levels and stuff like that. You can kind of make it so that's not a Zerg fest. I mean, it's possible. You just gotta. There's talented people at SOE. I think it's possible to kind of figure out how to make it work. We can go look at the results now. I don't want to hold this up.
All right.
So let's look at the results then. 64%, which are 14 votes, said the more the merrier, bring back 120 man raids. 6 votes for 5 players, 1 vote for 4 players, and 1 person voted it's not even necessary. I do want to say that 4 people in chat said that they preferred 6-man groups. I'm not gonna do the percentages again with that, because it's like, what is it? 5 a.m. and my math is not that great at the moment. But it should somewhere be between 20 and 30%.
But,
Lower 20.
But so that's the percentages. But I think that what the listeners and the watchers are telling us is they want to see the more the merrier. They want to see the larger
Yeah.
raid sides.
Plan side 2 size matters. I had to say it all together. I can't just say it by itself.
Did you just say size matters?
Size matters? What? I didn't say that. What are you talking about? Angie, do you want to comment? No, wait. What? So let's move on to the next question now.
Let's move. Okay, question number 4.
Boo!
I think this is I don't know whose question this is. This is the crafting question.
How important that's
It's
kinda-
actually my question.
Okay, if you want to go ahead and ask it, if you see it.
So I was working on getting to it, and then I've got I only have one monitor. I'm sorry. So I want to know how important crafting should be. So the options that we all came up with was no dropped items from mobs, only materials. Everything should be crafted. Crafting should have a role, but should be able to be bypassed. Crafting should be important, but should be based on mini games. Or if it ain't broke, don't fix it. One button clicking crafting. I hate you, whoever wrote that. One
I
button
did not
clicking
type
crafting
it.
is fine. Chad.
One button clicking crafting what?
Chad submits to the Ronco version of things. Set it and forget it.
Right? Okay, so yeah, I don't like this.
What do you think? What would you choose? I'd choose. Gosh, I'm gonna
Pikachu,
go with
I
the.
choose you.
I'm gonna go with the A. I really like that. Reddit's been talking about it a lot. We've talked about it a lot. The idea, we talked about it last episode of the player economy, is that, to really force people to really collaborate and build a world and an economy, don't drop big items for mobs. Drop materials and take it to crafters or take it to places where you can trade for an item, and then let me buy items from a vendor and sell the materials. They're not vendor trash, The scales actually will sell for some gold and I can buy something with it. Or let me take it to a crafter and make something epic out of it. Why do we need to attack multiple mobs for all those different kinds of weapons and chests and just constantly worry about loot drops? I think we can evolve it past that sort of game.
See, the only thing that I have to say about that is that you turn it into a crafting game. And not that I have a problem with having a crafting game. But if you take away loot from mobs completely and all they're dropping is materials, then what's...
It's not a crafting game.
Well, what if it has to do with humanoid? What if if it's a humanoid that carries a sword, you can get the sword? Make it realistic.
For you, it changes nothing because you would obviously need a UI that actually actively tells you what that component makes, but you still see the same loot. The only problem is, the only up is that you need to interact with a crafter to actually get your item.
And I'm with that too. I'm with option A2, and I am okay with the crafters holding control of that market because they're the ones who are going to take your raw materials and turn them into actual usable items. And I'm okay with that because they've said before that this is, kind of a play it your own way type of game. And there are certain people, and I might find myself among them because I loved it about it in Vanguard, is that you can gain renown, you can get known as the guy who can make the thing that almost no one else can make. And I'm fine with that. If you put in the time, you should be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
guys, we have 10 minutes left in the show. The main show.
And two questions. So
we'll finish up this question. We'll do the others in after hours.
Flatus?
Okay.
Oh no, real quick. I'm with the A, so we can go ahead.
Wow. So okay. And we want to show the results.
I guess I'm with A2.
No, I guess. Say it with some indignation. Say it with some pride.
Hey, yay for A?
Yay for A.
60% of the people seem to agree with us. Yay.
Okay.
20% says crafting should have a role, but should be able. Chad, I hate you too for these questions.
What?
For these answers.
How is this hard to read?
Crafting should have a role, but should be able to be bypassed. Oh yes, okay. It should be bypassable. And then another 20%, again 5 votes. Crafting should be important, but should be based on mini games.
EverQuest was a mini game, which was awesome, right?
Vanguard was kind of a mini game, but it was more than that.
Well, I mean, we have a good split for crafting, kind of staying the EverQuest 2 model, or sort of like a Star Wars Galaxies. You can make it sort of complicated, but it doesn't have to be, you know, the end all be all, which Andrew was sort of talking about. You don't have to make it a full crafting game. It's sort of split. I mean, it's really not that big of a difference. We have to consider the number of votes we're tallying here right now.
Don't
so.
get me wrong. I'm not saying that I want it to be a crafting game or a crafter's game. It's just that it's the most appealing option of.
It is, especially with Sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, my big thing is that I like to see crafting in a game where the person behind the computer controls the success. If it's going to be successful, it's not going to be because of anything other than the person behind the computer. They either make it successful or because of them, it didn't work out. And so I'm pretty much against the one button crafting where you just click a button and it makes it.
Yeah.
But with that, I think that if if the person behind the computer is really good at it, you should give them like, hey, if an average person can make this, but if you're really good at what you're doing, you can make it even better simply because you're controlling it.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I liked it in EverQuest 2 in the beginning, where it was harder to make the higher tier items. And so when it said master crafted and it said master crafted by Chewina or crafted by Chewina, it was like, dang, that's the guy I want to go to. And it sort of drifted away from that a little bit, which I sort of miss. At the same time, it was a little too hard in the beginning, so they definitely have to find a balance. But I want crafting to be of importance to where we can build like an ecology around the crafters, I want them to be known for their craft. Tanlin the boat builder from Vanguard. They know who to go to, they know who does the best quality, and they know who to bring their ingredients to, and I don't know. But anyways, we are going to camp. Can I do the camping this time, guys?
Well, I think we have enough time.
I guess we're a little early, but
yeah, I say,
why
don't we get in question number 5, and we'll come back after the break and do question number 6.
That sounds good.
Hey, so question number 5 is also mine.
Oh, yeah.
So my other question is, how should PvP be set up? And my stupid computer hates
Oh, it's cool. I got it right here.
So should it be minigames and instances are the way to go? I hate being ganked. Allow for open world areas where rules are governed by the players and laws enacted by them. Tie PvP to faction and keep it open world. Separate the open, closed PvP world to different servers.
This is a tough one. PvP hasn't been discussed at all by the developers thus far, so...
I'm kind of a man of a party of I love kind of like doing capture the flag and stuff. I kind of like doing that stuff. I won't say that I won't. I love that stuff. I also would love to do some open, just like Thunderdome. Like no rules. Just like you step into Thunderdome, people are the stuff is gonna go down.
See, and here's the thing about the mini games in like the battleground instances is that if you play it with other people, if you play your 5 people all in voice comm against 5 random players, you'll steamroll them. And I PvP all the time. I PvP with organized groups, and unless you go up against another organized group, you just lay waste. And it
can be really annoying. At least in open world, you can kind of avoid them, right? But when you're in a queue for an arena, that happened in Rift a lot. It would be like nonstop getting decimated, and it's not a lot of fun.
Right. Which now, so to get around that, you do where if you have your team, you go up against other teams, and that leads to where it starts rolling into esports, where it becomes hyper competitive. Because if you're not, a certain rating or winning this percentage of your matches, then you're just a noob. And I don't like that attitude. I don't like that attitude either. So I went to tie it to open, closed PvP worlds, and allow people to choose a server based on what they want to experience. Because me personally, I love open world PvP because while you have to deal with being ganked, mugged every once in a while, at the same time, it leads to like, hey, I'm going to take my group of 10 people and we're going to run into whatever we can until we run into another group of 10 people that can sufficiently repel us.
And I'm next, I guess. Awkward silence. I enjoy open world encounters, but there are times where I rather just not do it, which means that I would prefer like a flagging type of system. But I do want open world. So basically, one day, Saturday, I want to just PvP the entire day, and the other day I just feel like, well, I'm with a friend. He doesn't like PvP. Let's just not worry about it. That way, I don't have to hop on the separate server to play on a PvP server or whatever. And yeah, the other stuff I don't really play instant PvP at all because for me it feels very repetitive.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's not my thing.
Who wants to go next?
I want open world.
She scares
Yeah.
me when she talks about PvP. Hold me.
I will tonight, honey.
All right, let's tie it to B or C then. Do you want to allow for open world areas where rules are governed by the players and laws enacted by them, or maybe the game sets up laws, or do you want to tie it to faction?
Is there enough flexibility in coding that allows the developers to make it so that the players can choose their own PvP laws? Can the players create they help build this city and then all of a sudden the players are
A
involved?
lot of it can be player governed,
Well,
though.
games have done that though. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where your guilds were essentially your factions, and you could set another guild, and this was fully consensual, where you could set another guild to openly flag each other. Meaning, if you saw someone from another guild, you could just kill him anywhere in the world,
So
which
kind
was
of
pretty fun. Like we had like PvP wars going on with certain guilds for a few months, and then we decided, just forget it, and then we went to another guild. It was cool because like you also got to know these people. It was also a social thing. You weren't necessarily hating each other, but it was just like, I'm gonna kill this guy.
I don't.
Yeah.
So, I some of these aren't really mutually exclusive either. Like you could have 2 of these or even 3 of these easily and still not conflict.
The majority of the chat seems to say that like, let's just put as many PvP options in as possible,
Yeah.
and have people pick what they want.
True. I'm going to tie it to PvP in case of EQN proper. I'd like to see EQN proper to be more of a specialized game where it's about survival and it's about the open world nature, exploring, but exploring with consequence, you know? So I like open world PvP. I'd like it to be tied to factions a little bit. So maybe like if I was in well-known enemy territory, then I'd be flagged instantly or something like that. Leave the mini games to maybe Landmark, you know? That's going to have the core tools for them to be able to make that stuff eventually, right? So, I don't know.
And that's the coolest thing about Landmark, and Troina, you brought it up in one of the other episodes, is being able to create battlegrounds in Landmark. I think that would be really fun to be able to have the flexibility to make your own rule set and to make your own, lay it out the way you want it to. And I think that's really cool. And that even though I'm saying that, hey, I don't really necessarily like mini games at the same time, that would be really cool. So if they could put that into Landmark, I think that's awesome.
So, sorry.
I was gonna say, anybody want to hop in on Landmark when that comes out and build an arena with sand?
Hell
Have
yeah.
A pit with the lava, and then everybody just has to like take sand blocks away, and then you fall into lava if you're not fast enough.
I like it. I actually want to make like a castle destroying game where you can have like a catapult that shoots like a ball at the other castle. So and you can like tear each other's castle down with your catapult or whatever, and whoever destroys it first wins. That would be cool.
And going back to Guild Wars 2, it's awesome that you can build siege equipment and lay siege to these defended castles.
Yeah.
And the disadvantage to that the way that it's set up is that the breakable walls are only in specific locations, and in a week, the players had already figured out I need to put my trebuchet right here because I know it can't be hit by the defenders, but at the same time I can hit this wall and tear it down without. And so that's why I'd like to see the Landmark where everything is destructible, where
Yeah,
But
but I'd like to see that in EQN proper too. Like Dayok, there's something special there that really hasn't quite been captured since Dayok.
I agree.
So,
do go on.
I was just going to say that we have ran out of time, but I'm sure that we could continue discussing this in our after hour show because we also have a couple of more questions that we wanted to ask.
Yeah, can we go to the player results real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
With the
Let's-
player
Of
results.
course. The most popular answer is allow for open world areas where rules are governed by the players and laws enacted by them. So that's 42%. Then closely followed by separate PvP servers. That's 10 votes instead of 11 votes. It comes down to 38%. A lot of the people in chat said just give us as many options as possible. I counted about 6, which comes down to about 30%. And then 19% said tie PvP to factions and keep it open world. Nobody liked the mini game and instance actually, which is maybe
That's
our
interesting.
fault for
There's a lot
phrasing.
of games that do that. No, I think there's a lot of games that do that
Yeah,
as well.
but
like,
I think-
why do you have to make a game that's for everything? MMOs shouldn't be everything anymore. That's what kills me. They all try and be for solo players. They all try and cater to big group players, raiding players, hardcore players, PvP players for matches, PvP players for open world. I think that's where the game design's flawed. Like, you can't get
fully
much
agree with
depth
you.
when you have so much breadth, right?
I
don't know.
I wish certain companies would make up their mind and pick one target group again and focus on that target group, and then
Absolutely.
not build a game for 3 months, but build a game
There's
for
money
3
issues
years.
involved, but yeah. Can I camp out, guys? I really want to. Now camping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.